Turn 1 Soul Ring.
And like we can also talk is like even when we've done it before, like I have the app that's
You have an app for tournaments.
yeah, but now Magic has their own and they do this stuff all the time. So
Right. We were talking a little bit about before we started recording of like, you know, our current commander decks. How many decks do you have right now? Because you just did a bunch of work on your decks, right? You were
yeah,
saying?
so including our league one. So I have the league Animar,
You still have
Karametra.
what commander did you get last year in the league?
Oh, that deck's apart.
The deck's gone. It's
Yeah,
done.
that's the
As soon as it ended, Eric was like, "Okay, I'm gonna separate this."
well, because it's like I have my Brea deck for artifacts,
Oh, right.
so I didn't want to have 2 artifact decks up. So I was like, whatever.
Wow. This Eric over here doesn't want to have 2 artifact decks. I have like 4.
So yeah, I have Animar, which is probably my oldest deck now at the moment,
Yeah.
and then we have the Brea and
So Bray is back together.
Brea has always been together.
Okay.
I've taken pieces out and put pieces back in.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I do that
But
too.
I'm probably going to end up just like getting rid of Brea. Is my plan. But currently, it's that Brea, Amanatu, and then I have Karametra.
Do you still have that Golgari one?
I do,
Yeah.
which is the elf. I can't remember her name at the moment.
No, me neither. She's royalty though.
Yeah,
She's a queen of something.
yeah. And then I also have the Boros Fire Song Sunspeaker.
I love that deck. I
Yeah.
love playing against that deck.
It's
just super fun.
It's got some jank, but it can also just like win out of nowhere.
We don't know. That's
Yeah.
like Trevor's Nekuzar deck.
Yeah.
I love playing against that deck because it's just like he can just get you.
Yeah. And I have like cards in there that are like it's like red white's real bad for card draws. So
Right.
I go deep. Like,
Oh, you have to.
I think I have that book that's like 6 mana, and then you pay like 2 mana to draw a card or something.
Well, I was looking at another card from Homelands. I talked about this last episode, but another card. It's called Truce. It's 2 and a white for an instant. Each player can draw 2 cards. For each card the player doesn't elect to draw, they can gain 2 life. Why would you gain the life in
Like,
command?
why?
It's just like everyone's going to draw the
Everyone's
cards.
gonna draw the cards.
Yeah, that's just
I
like
really
and it's
need
an
4
instant.
life right
Isn't that
now.
a crazy white card? It's
That's
just
a weird
instant
white
card
card.
draw.
Yeah.
I mean everyone draws the card, so you're not
like group
there's
hug.
no net
Yeah.
advantage, but that's
Yeah.
funny.
Well, you still get further in your deck, which white has trouble too. So
So, are you thinking of taking apart? Like, why are you thinking of taking apart your Bray deck? Has it always been like a little inconsistent? And
it is inconsistent, and it was just kind of like more of a fun deck, and then people see it and they're super scared of it, and I'm like, this deck really isn't that good.
yeah, this
like,
isn't
it's-
that kind of Bray deck.
No.
Right.
And then so I've been wanting to have a put together like a 5-color deck for a while.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Bray is 4 colors. So I'm like, just for the mana base and stuff, I think I'm gonna
And Bray has no green.
Bray's no green. Yeah,
Yeah, which you really helps in a 5-color mana base.
it does. So I think I'm gonna just like get rid of Brea, do a 5-color, and just have that take the place of.
Do you have a few commanders in mind?
I do. 2 of them are dragons. We have Ramos,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
So good. Yeah.
And then also the Eminence, Ur-Dragon.
Ur-Dragon, yeah. Oh, of course. Eminence.
But then also Najila.
Oh, that's fun.
Because I think you can build a relatively powerful deck on the cheaper end of the spectrum with her.
Yeah, and actually, she's like a tier 1 dual commander.
Mm-hmm.
So she's very good in like 1v1. Not that that's what you're going to do, but you could if you wanted to.
Those are my ideas.
Yeah.
And then I think I'm also going to take apart my Golgari deck. Because
Yeah.
I have a lot of black in there. I really want to put together that Ayara deck that we did.
Yeah,
deck
that's
tech on,
that's a
so
fun deck.
Yeah.
And not ridiculously expensive either.
There's a couple things in there that I don't have, like extra planar lens.
Yeah, but that one's really fluctuates. Like it sort of fluctuates between like $20 and $30. So, and like I told you before, like I picked up a foil version for cheaper, like a light play foil version, cheaper than a near mint.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have any regulars in stock. So I always check because you never know when it's gonna be cheaper.
But yeah, I need that. And I know I need Cage Sun.
Yeah, Cage Sun's like 10, 12
10,
bucks.
12, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think like there might be something else in there that is a little on the high end, but I think I'm pretty good.
Oh man, I would love to have a copy of Gauntlet of Might. That's that artifact that's like $500. It's probably more than that now, but just in mono red, so good.
So good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting that you're thinking about taking that apart, because I recently took apart my Brago deck.
Okay.
Which was kind of like a Super Friends kind of thing, but it did have a lot of like really powerful cards in it. And I took it apart because, people would target me when I would play it, because I'd be like, no, it's not that kind of Brago deck.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't, but it ended up taking really long turns because it was Super Friends. And with like Oath of Teferi, you're getting 4 Planeswalker activations on each one, which takes a long time. And it's a lot to keep track of. And also, like, it just never really worked that well. Even its first few iterations when it was like a stacks deck.
Yeah.
Like it never really, maybe like Azorius just doesn't agree with me. I don't know. Because like mono white and mono blue, like I have tons of fun, but it's like,
Once you put the two together.
Yeah, and like I'm not really superstitious, but I just think like if something like doesn't go well enough times, it might just, you might just be wrong for it, or it might be wrong for you, or it's not going to work.
It's just not working out.
Yeah. So like, I love Brago, but I just, and like I'm sort of I think we're both kind of at the point where, like we could build most of the decks we would want to build by just like piecemealing them together from the cards that we have in our collection and other cards and decks. So it was kind of nice to like take cards like, take a Mana Vault out of Brago and like put it in my Duretti deck, which I play all the time and have a lot of fun playing, and it just like
gives a little bit of a power boost. And
exactly.
I can do some fun things with
exactly.
this. Like,
I'll just recur it and get 3 mana.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just it's and I probably have too many decks to play any of them really really well, which is probably why I only play like a handful of them. On the reg, but
which
anyways,
makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, of course it does. But it's good to take stock sometime.
How many decks do you have in total? Because I didn't even know. I just said how many. I was like,
what is that? Did you say about like 8?
5, 6, 7. I have 7 or 8. Yeah.
All right. I have like probably like around. It's like 20 plus. Yeah.
It's a lot of decks.
And the thing is, like, I keep up with, like, when, the new set comes out, like, I make a list of, like, what cards I want to, like, try in different decks, but there are some decks that, like, I put Throne of Eldraine cards in, and I haven't played those decks since I put those cards in the deck.
Yeah.
I just, it's like that part of Magic is so fun for me that it's like, I don't even need to play this deck. I'm just going to put these new cards in.
I got these new cards.
And I'm always like, just lower that curve.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, it's fun to, like, just, like, shuffle through cards. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, it's nice to have physical cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's start the show, because Ainsley's going to have to timestamp this. This is Turn 1 Soul Ring. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Eric.
And this is the podcast where we talk about all things Magic the Gathering. And today on the show, we are continuing our Color Pie series with Black.
Next up is the old black.
That's right. It's been a while. I feel like it's been a while since we did one of these.
Yeah, because blue was
the last one. Yeah. And we're only, this is like halfway through this episode, we'll be halfway done. But then we're going to have to do Color Pie series Gold. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to do that. Like gold cards,
gold
right?
cards,
yeah. And it was a joke.
also like brown.
Color Pie series Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll have to do Color Pie series like light gray, when they change the artifact border.
Yeah, so there's 2 different kinds, obviously.
Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah.
And then just for like Mirrodin, where it's like we're going to have to do extra light gray, and people were like, these look too much like white cards. You guys are going to have to fix this.
What are you doing here?
Before we get to that, though, we do have a couple of things we'd like to talk about that are noteworthy in the world of Magic.
Yeah, so something really cool. I think we'll talk about the app first. So Wizards has been putting together what they call a companion app. And so
it's like a friend if you don't have any.
Yeah, exactly. And you can just like talk Magic to them.
Right. Can you play Magic with them?
No, not yet.
No, it's not that good.
Not yet. Yeah. But basically, what it does, they do have the open beta going right now on Android. So if you are on Android, you can download that and give it a try.
iPhones, Apple's getting the shaft again, huh?
Apparently, they do have a reason here, and the open beta says it's almost full because Apple limits them to 10,000 on an open beta,
So they have it and it's full?
and it's pretty much full
Oh, okay. Interesting.
because
All
they
right.
have a limit on it. So,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, I accept that.
but what this companion app does is it lets you organize like a tournament.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, and so like me personally, because we do drafting and stuff like that, so I've
Yeah.
downloaded an app, which is called STC Swift Draft Calculator.
That's a
And
mouthful.
It's a mouthful,
Yeah.
and it's very very basic. I can just add in player names and stuff, and it kind of like matches people together. But the Wizards one is definitely the UI looks a lot nicer.
Right.
And so if you're drafting at home with friends, or you're doing like a cube with 8 players,
Right.
it's just a nice app to be able to work out like who plays against who and such.
Yeah, it just saves time and
And you can like put in
frustration.
wins and losses. It calculates all that stuff for you.
Yeah.
So you can just
and does pairings and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
so it's really
that's
nice.
That's awesome.
so it's definitely a very more narrow thing, but it's still something out there that's nice to have. I think.
Yeah, and like, it's so much fun to like if you've never like gotten together with your buddies and done like a draft is like it's so much fun.
It is. Yeah, and so I mean, if you have a group of friends, like I would recommend sometimes, everybody just buys 3 packs and you just get a draft together.
Absolutely,
Yeah, it's a fun time.
Yeah, even if you don't like, even not doing prizing, right? Just
Yeah.
like packs that you open, or you just keep the cards. But like doing a fun like chaos draft, like that can be tons of fun.
Chaos drafts as well, since we've been doing some of those, are pretty fun.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. You get some pretty wild stuff going.
Yeah. So that's nice of Wizards to set up something like that.
Yeah.
And
It's
then,
about time.
It's about time. Yeah. And then we also have a product which is coming back. So Wizards is bringing back Challenger decks again.
Nice. Challenger Decks 2020 edition.
So in 2020, they said they're going to release the deck lists later, but these Challenger decks in the past and what they will be is like it's going to be like it's a standard deck ready to go. So it's a 60 card deck with a 15 card sideboard.
And they have chosen kind of like a meta skeleton to the decks in the last 2 iterations.
Yeah, so I think that's what they're going to do probably again.
Yeah.
And my complaint last time was that they were so focused on the guilds in terms of like what they were, but then we had like 2 monocolored decks when there's all these guilds out there, and I was like,
That doesn't really fit with
Come on.
what they're doing with the standard set.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that was a little bit of a disappointment.
Yeah.
And so this time, apparently, the decks are going to be coming out April 3rd, 2020. They're going to be 4 decks, which has been what they've done in the past. And they're going to be filled with cards from every standard legal set, including Theros. So
Okay.
this is going to be really cool because in the past with the Challenger decks, they kind of get released. And I think it's like 6 or 8 months later, like they're...
Before rotation.
Yeah. They most of the cards rotate out of the decks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so that's nice that you have like Theros cards that are going to be in standard for 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, less than 2 years at that
Less than
point,
2
but
years.
close
Yeah.
to it. That's not that. That's like 4 months from now.
Yeah, and even any of the previous stuff we've gotten, like M20 and like the
Yeah. What else? What other like I can
World of Spark and stuff.
Throne of
Like,
Eldraine, War of the Spark.
yeah, Throne of Eldraine will be in there, so that's going to be in there for a while too. So these cards won't rotate out as fast. So I think
Exactly.
this is
yeah.
really cool.
That's nice and like probably better value, right?
They usually put in like good value, so
Especially the land base.
Yeah.
Like they usually they'll do like a play set of a good land or a good dual land that you need, which is really nice.
and so I think it would be a really good spot because we have seen because of Pioneer, these shock lands really go up in value.
Just thinking that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the Challenger decks are a really good time to print some of those
Shocklands.
Shocklands.
Yeah, lower the price because they're at higher demand than ever now.
Yeah,
Standard, Pioneer, Modern, like every format where they can be played, they see play.
So I'm pretty sure like the Watery Grave and Steam Vents, I think there's another one that's around like $20. Like
Yeah.
those cards could really use
It's always the blue ones, eh?
yeah, always stuff with blue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd really love to see those cards, the Shocklands reprinted in these decks just to like help the price out.
Yeah, that would be really great. Yeah, it's crazy because like that's right before Ikoria comes out, because at the end of April is when the new Ikoria comes out and the new 5 commander decks.
Yes.
So
yeah.
like that's a lot of stuff,
a lot of stuff.
a lot of monies.
So if you like all of Magic, it definitely can hurt your wallet.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, lucky for us, we don't really play standard. You play standard, but just on
play standard
arena.
yeah.
But it is always I do really like the finance side of standard and like watching cards and knowing, like when like rotation season is my favorite season because you get to snap up all those cards for your commander decks.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, like when Karn Scion of Urza, it was like $8.
That's the
that
time.
felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the main topic of the show, which is the color black.
Let's check it out.
It's the B in Wooburg.
The middle.
That's right. So we're going to start off with black's representation in the color pie. So black mana is, of course, drawn from swamps. It embodies the principles of parasitism. Parasitism, yeah, it's a better way to say it. And amorality, though not necessarily immorality. Black seeks power through ruthlessness and opportunity. The mana symbol for black is a skull, as I'm sure we all know. Black is allied with blue and red, and the enemy of white and green. Black can be summarized with this statement: "Look out for number one," which is very true if we look at a lot of black cards.
Yeah.
Black's view of the world is a plain reality. Power controls, and power dictates who rules and who dies, or maybe a better way to say that is who doesn't rule. Maybe I don't know if ruling and death are opposites, but whether the weak can see it or not, they are slaves to the powerful.
Yeah.
It's funny. When I was doing research for this, black seems a lot like the Sith.
Yeah.
In Star Wars. A key tenet of Black's philosophy is that one must discard all obligations except for those that acquire power for oneself. Mm-hmm. To achieve this kind of peerless power, one can't place rules on one's life. Life is hard enough without putting limitations on oneself. And, I think that's true to life in general. I mean, I don't agree with all of this, but I think, if you think about something like doing 10 push-ups in a row, if you think you can't, then that's going to put like a mental barrier to start with on whether or not you actually can do it.
Yeah.
And it's a cliche, but
it's true.
Believing in yourself and thinking I can do this does make a difference.
It does, surprisingly.
Yeah, like the mind over matter kind of a thing.
It's true.
It is true. One must look for every opportunity to get ahead. Those opportunities must be seized without mercy or shame. I mean, this is black.
There's some evil stuff to hear.
Yeah. Greed and ambition are the biggest players within black's internal psychology. Greed counters shame, always demanding more. Ambition counters humility, never permitting compromise.
And also, speaking of just like the black card, greed is great to show with what's going on here.
Oh yeah, that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, killing is no trouble for the color, sometimes portrayed as obsessed with death. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of death. There's a lot of sacrifice, right? Sacrifice and rebirth.
And that's also like, it's really great to look at the Liliana's story.
Right.
Her entry into this whole thing has a lot of black in it, so.
That's right. That was, and in like Origins, she becomes like a necromancer to try and save her brother.
Yeah.
And
then she makes
he becomes a lich.
She makes a pact with a demon, and then things just don't work out because obviously the demon's going to win.
Don't make a pact with a demon.
Yeah.
Seems obvious. So there are essentially two pillars to Black's efforts, which play out in the mechanics of the game. Parasitism, which is Black's readiness to steal power, and amorality, which provides Black direct access to its desires, provided it can pay the price.
And we see that paying the price with life.
Yeah, life or creatures.
Creatures, yeah. Sacrificing creature, yeah. Mm-hmm. That creature's life and stuff. And we can even see that again with like, if we want something back, we need to make a sacrifice somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like sacrificing a creature to get a creature out of the graveyard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think the only place, like a good example of the opposite of that would be like Dark Ritual, which is like 1 black and you get 3 mana. Like there's no downside there.
Yeah, right? Like we're just Nen mana.
But, that's a clear case of they hadn't... The color pie was not as defined as it is today, obviously.
But that's just like Black's pure power. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll start with parasitism. Black can take away anything with one salient limitation worth noting: artifacts and enchantments.
Yes.
And the idea there is that they are not alive, right? And blacks, it's
Always has to
very
do with
interesting,
life and stuff.
life and death.
Yeah. So that's why it's always like creatures and
Yeah. So like
players' life totals.
yeah, and flavor wise, that makes a lot of sense. Like
Which is really
in
cool.
game, yeah, it can be very frustrating because we end up having to use things like Scour from Existence or Spine of Ishsaw, which is a card that Eric and I both love.
It's great.
Yeah. With the power of black magic, life itself is just pocket money, stolen as easily. That includes life force, like the strength of a creature, willpower, won by corruption, terror, which is a black card, or other horrors. Life, as in being alive, and life total, the game resource with which a player begins the game. So let's move on to amorality. This comes out in two ways, liquidation and nullification. Liquidation is turning one resource into another fluidly and efficiently. Without getting into the specifics of mechanics, life is a commodity in such as like a deal with the devil, like what we were talking about with Liliana.
Exactly.
Resource exchange is at the heart of the game in all colors, but there are some prices that only black will pay. Nothing is out of the question for black. Yeah, because you can, you do that with other colors, but black I think is the most sort of sacrificial.
A lot of like black card draw has to do with like you lose life, draw so many cards,
And that's what makes it so efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's cards like Greed where you just like pay mana and life.
Mm-hmm. Or like, what is it, like Villas, Broker of Blood? Whenever you lose life, you draw a card. Is that what he does? I think he's from M20.
Yeah, Villas. 1 mana, pay 2 life. Target creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn. Whenever you lose life, draw that many cards.
Yeah, that's like a fixed Grizzlebrand.
Yeah, sure. If you have a way of just losing life, you're drawing that many cards. And so if you have a way of like, if you have like Necropotence out,
mm-hmm.
you're losing life and drawing cards from that, but also this as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just like doubles up on everything for you. Even just like Sign in Blood.
Yeah, exactly.
Draw 4.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
So nullification is simply that, utter erasure. It could be said that black acts more out of fear than anything. Black sees the prospect of being controlled and of actually dying as one and the same. Because black is so self-interested, it cannot understand trust. Black cannot imagine depending on another, and black will not sacrifice itself for another. If one can say he understands the terror of seeing death in everything but knowing trust in nothing, he can say he understands black.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting that black is, that you can be so self-interested, you can't even understand trust.
Yeah.
Because trust is a tricky thing, and like relying on other people, because like at the end of the day, you can't really trust anyone or anything.
And
but you do.
You do.
You
we have trust in each other always because
course.
we want to.
For like mutual advantage, right?
Yeah.
You have so many relationships are symbiotic, right? But yeah, it is a very tricky thing because it's like even sort of funny because like even when like I make plans and like I have confirmation from people that they're going to arrive, I'm always like ready for them to not arrive.
Happens.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's just kind of it's sort of like expect the worst and then anything less is.
If you always expect the worst, you'll never be disappointed.
That's right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. If you never trust anyone, you'll never be disappointed.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
but that's really great with black because also they always like garner power over everything. And then if you don't have to trust anybody, it's just always whoever's more powerful is always going to win out in the end.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
And also with the not trusting anybody again, like going back to Liliana's story, she's trusting that this demon is going to help her.
Right. That was her mistake.
No.
Yeah. Of course. So we've talked about black's part in the color pie and a bit about its flavor. Let's move on to some of black's attributes. Black's attributes are actually very similar to those of a sociopath, which is kind of interesting. So as we said before, black is self-interested above everything else. Black wouldn't behave like a proper person unless it found that behavior beneficial to its goals. The same can be said for any kind of positive action, such as kindness. So with a worldview like that comes a funny sort of freedom and a lack of shame for any action one could take.
Yeah.
'Cause
I mean, like, if there's no recommendation for whatever you end up doing.
Right. And there would be consequences, but if, like if no one knows you did something terrible and you feel that you had to do that, or you just wanted to do that and you don't feel
For the
any
greater
shame,
good.
or just for your own,
Yeah.
your own intentions, which could be, for you, they're the greater good.
Yeah.
Right. That's the whole, that's the whole thing about
You're like, if I end up
perspective.
killing this person to gain so much more power, this is beneficial for me right now. I'm just going to go ahead and do it.
Yeah. And if no one knows I did it and I don't feel any shame about it because I feel I had to do it, all good. I'm not even going to think about it. So, unlike a true sociopath, Black is honest and truthful about its goals. So take a look at the art on a lot of Black cards. You'll see horror, death, fangs, blood, just horrible stuff.
Yeah.
Like stomach wrenching stuff. So let's talk about some of the common misconceptions surrounding Black. Perhaps the most common misconception is that Black represents evil. Put bluntly, Black is the most likely color to do open, honest evil.
Sure, yeah, because they're just like, this is what I'm going to be doing. Mm-hmm. I'm not tricking you into something. You know what my end goal is.
Right.
I'm killing all these people.
And,
Bolus is here to wipe the world clean.
Yeah.
He was very deceitful, though, but...
Sure. And the thing is, I think, too, it's like it's like what is evil, right? It's, it's like, it's a perspective. I think, like, most people that are committing horrible acts, or that what society would largely see as horrible acts, to them, they may feel like they're doing the right thing. So, they're not evil. Like, I think that, people that do horrible things kind of have to feel like they're doing the right thing, or they wouldn't do it. I just don't think, like, evil as a concept, like, you're evil, is a little just, I think it's more complicated than that.
It can be. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's those people out there that know that what they're doing is bad, but they still think it's okay.
Yeah, for sure. No, you're right about that.
So they're like, hey, I'm evil, but...
And we talked about this a bit with when we started this series with white, the idea that the misconception that white represents good, and we also talked about what is that good? Right? Because if if you're fighting like a war to take over a territory, and you're doing it for the betterment of your people, your country, is that good? Right? You're
like, who is it good for?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's subjective.
Or even like that movie with Will Smith and
iRobot.
iRobot. Yeah.
Oh, were you actually thinking of iRobot? Wow,
yeah.
That was a shot in the dark.
But no, the machines are doing good for the humans, but that's not a good.
Yeah. The people don't think so. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, like we said earlier, you know what? Before we move on, I have a good Star Wars analogy here. The Emperor, like, bringing peace and order to the galaxy by killing all the Jedi and creating the Galactic Empire.
Yeah. He thinks he's doing a good thing for...
Yeah. And he's, like, evil.
Quite evil.
Do it. Like we said earlier, Black is interested in itself and its goals above anything else. And... is that inherently evil? No. But, it's all a matter of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And, having a total lack of compassion, I also don't think is particularly evil, but it is at odds with what...
Like being good is.
Right. It is, yeah. Because if you don't, it's just like, because the vast majority of us have compassion for at least... the people closest to us. We certainly have the most compassion for them. But if you just have like none
at all,
you're definitely in the minority. I don't know if you're evil, but you're different. We can, that being said, we can also think of several heroic Black characters throughout Magic's history. Characters like Zancha, who teamed up with Urza, Chainer, and Yeheni. Not to mention the handful of heroic Black planeswalkers like Soren Markov, Vraska, Kaya, and Liliana, who was once quote unquote evil, and became more and more heroic during the Bola story arc that seemed like it would never end.
I think she was like always kind of doing her own thing. Because she's part of the Gatewatch.
Right, exactly.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah. And,
But she's always like still kind of out for her own good.
Right.
But then she still helped out. Like, it's like obviously if the Eldrazi take over, that's a bad thing.
That's bad
so
for
I should
me.
probably help.
Right.
I guess she wasn't part of the whole Oath of the Gatewatch thing though. She didn't have her own oath.
She did. She did have an oath.
It was later though, not in the.
Yeah, it was an Eldritch Moon.
Yeah,
I believe
she was.
But Teferi didn't get an oath until, like, Dominaria.
Yeah.
And Johnny, he got an oath in Aether Revolt. We should do an episode about the oaths. I'll stand watch.
I'll stand watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on and talk about some of the game effects that are synonymous with black throughout Magic's history. In the game of Magic, black cards sometimes use resources that other colors don't dare touch. Don't you dare. Sacrificing permanents and paying life are the most commonly used resources. A simple card such as Greed, like we talked about earlier, exemplifies black's determination to get any advantage.
Just paying life just to get more cards. I'll have more advantage.
Life is nothing.
Yeah.
I need resources. Up until and including Mercadian Mask, black had access to temporary mana boost, primarily in the form of Dark Ritual. This mechanic has since moved to the color red, which is where we...
Pyretic Ritual.
Yeah, only see Ritual. We just got
Desperate Ritual.
Iron Crag.
Feet, yeah.
That's a good one. Turn 4 is 7 mana.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. Black is the foremost color that causes a player to discard as an effect, not a cost. With blue a far distant second, and each color occasionally uses a discard as a cost, but it's different.
It's very different. It's not like how black does it.
Yeah, black does it in the form of an attack.
Yeah.
Black is the foremost color in spot destruction, illustrated in cards like Terror and Dark Banishing. Recently, black has been attributed several weakness type spells that give creatures -X/-X.
I mean, also black has murder, which...
Absolutely. And,
just straight up murder.
Yeah, absolutely. Or Royal Assassin. That's a classic card.
Hey.
And we can think of cards with this effect like Toxic Deluge, one of the... probably one of the best board wipes in Commander.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it gets around Gaddock Teeg.
Oh, yeah.
Not that I see Gaddock Teeg that often, but...
and it gets rid of Indestructible as well because it's -/-.
Which is, I think, why it's gotten more popular as Indestructible has become more prevalent. So, the following evergreen keywords are associated with the color black, as well as the colors they share it with. Flash, which is shared with blue and green. I think of any black cards that have Flash. I mean, I'm sure they exist.
There's some out there.
Lifelink, shared with white. Menace, shared with red. Death Touch, shared with green. And Flying, shared with white and blue. And staying on the topic of in-game effects, let's talk about black's most common mechanics. So these aren't like keyword mechanics that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Black is the only color that can look at the opponent's hand, choose a card from it, and force that player to discard it. Thoughtseize.
Thoughtseize has definitely seen a lot more play recently with Pioneer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Theros is in the set, so...
Do you think that's going to get reprinted?
I think it needs to be.
It does need to be.
Though. Like, it's in Pioneer. Like, and we're in Theros. It'd be nice if Thoughtseize got a reprint now.
And it was in Standard only a few years ago, and it didn't, dominate that format.
No, because you still lose 2 life for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it does... No, that's Inquisition of Kozilek, that you don't lose any life, but there's a CMC restriction.
Yeah, it's 3 or less for
It's
Inquisition.
strictly worse. Because you'd rather lose a life than have a limitation.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's always like in a fast format like Modern, most things are CMC 3 or less.
Yeah.
It's just when I go up against like Tron, I'm like, well, it's a dead card. Get that out of there.
Do you board it out when you
I
play?
do board it out when I play Tron. Straight up. Because
it
only hits like Inquisitor or like the...
It's the spheres.
The maps,
it
spheres,
hits the
and
Once Upon a Time. Someone's Crying.
It's Once Upon a Time, which is a newer one, yeah. It just doesn't hit enough of the big threats, though.
No, you're absolutely right. So, black is also the primary color to force the opponent to discard cards of the opponent's choosing, though this mechanic has occasionally been bled to blue. Forcing the opponent to discard cards that are chosen at random is also a black ability, though some red cards can do that after having drawn additional cards. But that's like, black's ability is, I'm targeting, like, Eric is my opponent, to discard cards from his hand at random, whereas a card like Gamble, I'm doing that to myself.
Yeah.
That's the difference there.
Oh, what is that?
Like a black card that makes
No, there was
discard
that red
multiple.
card where you both draw 3 and then discard 3 at random.
Ooh, that sounds awful. And black is more than happy to ignore the cycle of life and death, using creatures in the graveyard with just as much, if not more ease, as creatures in hand, with a variety of spells and abilities that can both revive your own dead and turn your opponents against them. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of that, like Rise from the Dark Realms.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite tribal cards is Patriarch's Bidding.
What's that?
It's from Odyssey, I think. It's 3 and 2 black for a sorcery. Each player chooses a creature type, then returns all creatures of the chosen type from their graveyard to the battlefield. Black utilizes sacrifice differently from the other colors. While white believes in self-sacrifice for the good of others, black will sacrifice its own creatures and its own life to achieve power. Mm-hmm. Nearly all cards that have an opponent lose a given amount of life directly appear in black. Other black cards force one or more players to lose half their life total, or for a spell's caster to pay life as part of the cost of a spell or ability. Black's primary source of life gain, parasitism, literally siphons the life out of others and giving it to its controller. Last year in our league, there was a lot of...
Sanguinate?
Yes, thank you. That's right. That's like the only thing that would make Torment of Hailfire better if you gain the life.
Yeah. We see that a lot, even with like, I think there's like a recent one in Standard. It's like 2 mana, target opponent loses 3 and you gain 3. So it's always just like you can look at it like a 6-point swing because it's losing and gaining. So
right, exactly. Yeah. And last but not least, black has built a niche for cards that remove counters, like Thrall Parasite, Vampire Hexmage, and Aether Snap. Have you ever seen the card Aether Snap?
I have not.
It's good. Can you look it up?
So it is 3 and 2 black. Remove all counters from all permanents and exile all tokens.
Yeah, that last
That's
part
a wicked card.
is really good. The exile all tokens.
Yeah.
And it's just like if you have like a token person in your meta,
or even someone doing Super Friends.
Yeah, that just shuts it right down. And that's why, Vampire Hexmage is so good. But yeah, Aether Snap is really good. Like
Aether Snap's cool. Yeah, and then Vampire Hexmage just removes all the counters and puts it on itself.
Right.
Which is really good as well. And now you have a big creature and there's no more planeswalkers.
So now we're going to move on to some black trivia before we wrap up the show. And I'm just going to ask Eric the questions, and I have not prepped Eric for this at all, so it's.
I did not look at the wiki page.
That's good. Okay, so Eric, what is the black spell with the highest CMC that's legal? So you can't say Big Furry Monster from some unset. I don't think I would get this either.
Oof. I know there's like board wipes that are like 9 mana, but there's got to be something higher than that.
Yeah.
At like, I want to say 13 mana.
It's you're close. It's Hypnox. It's 11 mana.
Yeah.
It's creature Nightmare Horror. It's an 8/8 with flying from Torment. When Hypnox comes into play, if you played it from your hand, remove all cards and target opponent's hand from the game.
Whoa.
When Hypnox leaves play, return the removed cards to their owner's hand.
Oh.
Yeah.
Come on. You don't need that part on the card.
No, it was good, and then it was like... Ugh.
For that much mana, they should just be gone forever.
Yeah. That stinks. Next question. What is the strongest and toughest black creature that's legal?
So is it most power and toughness?
Yeah. Yeah. Not combined, but highest power toughness.
Not combined.
I would never have guessed this.
Yeah, because it's like, I know Tree of Perdition is 13 toughness.
It's a transform card.
Oh, it's a transform card.
Yeah, it's from Dark Ascension.
It's not the blade, Elbrus Blade, is it?
It is, yeah.
Oh.
Elbrus the Binding Blade, 7
Yeah.
mana for a legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0. When equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, unattach Elbrus the Binding Blade, then
And
transform it.
it.
And equip costs 1, and then it transforms into
13 something?
13/13, yeah.
Ah.
Flying, intimidate, trample. Whenever a player loses the game, put 13/1/1 counters on Withengar Unbound.
Withengar, yeah. I used to play that card.
And then the one that is a token would be Merit Lage. That would actually be the biggest.
Oh,
one.
sure.
This is
2020.
And
Yeah.
then the
That's fair.
and Big Furry Monster gets a nod here too because it's a $99.99.
Yeah. Not legal though.
What is the most cost efficient black creature? So the lowest cost for the biggest power toughness.
Ooh.
And this is, it's modern legal.
It's modern legal.
Modern legal, yeah.
Well, it's definitely not the 4-mana 6/6 flyer that we talked about, Aberrant.
No, that's not a
No.
good. This is a way better rate. Yeah.
Oh, is it the Rotting Regisaur? That new one?
No, it's Death Shadow.
Oh, fuck. Duh.
Yeah, 1 mana 13.
It's my card.
Yeah. So according to this, we're recording this on New Year's Day. What is the most expensive black card?
In price?
This is a US value by Star City Games. Heavily played versions go for about 1,400, and near mint would be, this says 2,500 US, and it's from Arabian Nights.
Oh, it's not the Tudor then, is it? There's
Imperial Seal.
Oh, maybe.
Thinking of that one? No, it's not Imperial Seal. It's an old card.
Yeah, this I'm gonna have nothing on.
It's Juzam Jin. It's 2 black for a 5/5.
I think I've seen that card
At the
before.
beginning of your upkeep, Juzam Jin deals 1 damage to you.
Yeah, it's just real old.
Yeah, it's just real old.
Yeah.
And I won't have you guess this one because this card isn't even legal in Commander, but most expensive black card from the early core sets is an Alpha Edition Mind Twist, which is 15,000 US.
Wow.
No, 1,500.
I was going to 15,000.
1,500, yeah. No, it's not a Moxen. Yeah, Mind Twist, Mind Twist was banned in many formats. I think it probably still is, but it's X and black for a sorcery. Target player discards X cards at random. You can't have that running around. That's just come on. That's just mean. This is a weird one. The most unusual expensive black card, Portal 3 Kingdoms, Imperial Seal, $500 US as valued by Star City Games.
There we go. Yeah.
Portal sets were meant for new players, and aside from 3 Kingdoms, generally considered devoid of powerful cards. So, that is going to do it for our installment of our Color Pie series. I feel like each time we do this, it's a little bit different in how we
Go about the episode.
Yeah, which is good because it's gonna,
Keeps it fresh.
Yeah, it keeps it fresh, and it's gonna change how we do things over time. Right, everything's gonna change. We're doing a giveaway. We're doing a January giveaway right now. We're giving away 3 packs of Theros Beyond Death, and
Which goes really well with this episode.
it
Beyond
does Beyond Death. Yeah, and we're also giving away a proxy foil Soul Ring and Arcane Signet for your casual tabletop commander decks,
Which are done by...
it's like Iphon proxies. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll let you guys see them.
Yeah.
We were looking at them earlier. Physically, these cards are gorgeous.
They are, yeah, and they don't bend. I left some of them out. They're very nice. Yeah, and I know that one of the game stores that we spend the most time at, they recently made their commander events a sanctioned WPN event, so you can't play with proxies. But if you have a proxy and then you just have the real card, I'm sure it's fine with your pod if you just show them that you have the real card. And if it's not, you have the real card with you, so you can just use
swap it out anyways.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah.
You can find us on social media on Instagram at Turn 1 Soul Ring. That's where we're doing the giveaway. And I'm on Instagram at Command Beacon. You can find this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and whenever you get your podcasts. And if you're into Magic lore, go check out our Patreon campaign, and we have our first couple episodes of our Brothers War lore series.
Yeah, we're going to the Brothers War. It's really interesting. I like how we're doing it as well. Kev's read up on it, and I'm just figuring out about it now. So
It's fun.
It's a fun time.
Yeah, Eric's like the audience.
Yeah. So I'm here for you guys. I'm asking the questions.
He's asking the tough questions.
Yeah.
Like, how did the portal to Phyrexia get opened?
How?
Yeah. If you feel like we deserve some money, then you can find out how. And rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. That really helps us out a lot.
Always helps us. We like to hear from you guys.
Yeah. Let us know what you think, how you feel, and thank you for listening.
We appreciate all of you just the same, and we'll see you next time.
Bye now.
Turn one soul ring.